Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here with my continuing playthrough of Hearts of Iron 3 with Black Ice 9.11, and yes, we're playing as Japan. So let's continue this. Take a look over here at the Eastern Front as it's battling on. Looks like Soviet garrison got trapped there. Okay, and that looks like a big pile of, well, maybe not spammed units, I don't know. Long-range aircraft production has advanced, very good, and we're going to let that continue since it's just 42 technology. We want to keep reducing down the IC costs. Okay, yeah, none of these yet. Either the Tora, nor the Operation Z attack Pearl Harbor. We can do them, but we are waiting until we get some, just so that you know, oh, wrong screen, until we get these produced. So right around January 29th or so, or shortly thereafter, I want to be able to do some oh, we also need to, I think, just some of this, do some para drops on or near the start. Okay, air cooling systems for aircrafts. Okay, that will help cost a little more fuel, reduce range, which I don't like. That's one thing the Zeros really had, was range. Because operational ranges in Europe generally were much shorter. I'm absolutely not sure how to scale some of this map is, but the Americans thought they were facing a carrier or more out here off of the Philippines because there were Zeros attacking the Philippines. Well, they were coming from Taiwan. So they were flying all this way. They had dropped tanks, and I think they were dropping them each time before they were coming anywhere near land, because you know, aircraft are expensive operating machines, generally speaking, and if you really look at how expensive they are, and I don't mean just oh, X number of dollars for, you know, an aircraft, but all of the support elements, you know, the personnel, the whole base that they're supporting off of, it's really a lot of energy and effort. So that means a lot of money and costs and various things. So if you look at some of the bomb loads and, you know, say it in pounds or whatever, some of these aircraft are carrying may sound sort of like a lot, but then you sort of look inside of them and they've got this big B-17 bomber and, oh, few bombs in one little section. Now they're pretty heavy bombs and you need all that to get up there, but you know, how many targets are you going to hit? And so yeah, if you're doing 1,000 plane bomber raid, which was very rare and towards the end of the war for the Allies, but in a single raid, and that's a massive amount, but you look at all its effort. So throwing away some cheap fuel tanks really is not costing very much. And so when they were hitting, and I think a lot of them were operating way down into here from here, again, I'm not sure quite on the scale on this, but that's a fairly long range fighter aircraft. And so let me just say this, I have no idea. I mean, I got the concept of an air cooling system. That you have a cooling system on a fighter or other airplane, because I see like bombers and transports there, that takes in air and runs it across the engine to cool it. Okay, yeah, I get that concept. I don't know why, other than maybe it's all of it is down to you need air scoops, so they're on the, excuse me, you know, near the engines to take in the air, so the aircraft is not as aerodynamic or something, that needs a little more fuel to drive it, so that reduces its range. I don't know. That could be it. Yeah, but and I don't know whether the Zeros would have been considering having this. But now we can do single engine maneuverability focus and climb rate focus, which is two other good things, which I don't think it's here. Oh, here, climb rate focus and maneuverability focus. Okay, well, that'll give us back some, or give us some speed additionally. Okay, yeah, we'll do one of these, a little bit air defense. Well, let's go with this one. The Zeros were highly maneuverable. We'll get the other one too, but now, of course, in a way, there are technically no Zeros in this game, because now these are, now, as you well know, these are just the Nakajima KI-44 is just sort of an immersion thing. These stats in no way represent what the stats were of this aircraft. Now, just to give a plug for a different mod, one that I only sort of test played a little bit, but I did contribute heavily to it, and I did play earlier before I found Black Ice, the dig, the De Era Gata Damorong DLC is for RPM, realistically progression models. Oh boy, oh, I've got to get this right. Sorry, I'm clicking over. I need to look at my it's for Thagan's mod. And it's in my signature. Forward Panzers. Boy, I was blanking on that. It's not that I don't know it, it's just I was blanking on it. Forward Panzers, which I did the not this image for it, but the you know, when the event pops up image for his last version of the mod I made. At least most all of them. He did borrow, he had a few events from GGA that he borrowed, and he used the Revolver Held's images for those, but the rest were mine. And what its mod was to step through the stats of the German Panzers. So you would get specific models of Panzers, and so it's sort of like, this is what we think an early model Panzer IV is, and this is what we think a late model Panzer IV is in these stats: speed, armor, defense, piercing, and that kind of thing. And basically what some of the what Black Ice now does for Hearts of Iron 4, in that you're getting specific tank models or specific aircraft models with some minor variations maybe to represent it. So this is just pure immersion here, outside of just a general idea of levels that you're stepping through, meaning these stats don't match this. It's just this gets triggered when certain combinations of fighter prototype levels and all of this stuff, at least of certain of these, match up, and then you sort of walk through. So it gives a relative idea that if these are fighting a late war, this model's fighting a late war American P-51 or something, the P-51s are probably going to be better than these sort of fairly earlier fighters or something like that. So it gives you some sort of idea of where you are on the thing, but nothing like that but sort of the reason is, as I say, that there isn't a 0 is that because and they did do some experiments, but because the AI will not, because that's a 0 there. No, I don't think, well, yeah, yeah, it's a 0. But where the AI will not in this game, but it will in Hearts of Iron 4. Again, Hearts of Iron 4 has so much potential, because the AI will do a fighter model. I presume that's a torpedo bomber model, and that maybe the bomber, dive bomber type model will do the mix of aircraft. So this is a composite of a carrier air group. That's what I call them, carrier air groups. So I don't know. Well, let's see. Where do we have range here? I know I can just go in and look for, but why am I, is there no statistic for max speed, consumption, surface, sea attack? I guess, I don't know, because we can look here and go get that idea for its operational range. See, I know we can do that, and come on, lots of clicking. Okay. And this one here, we can see approximately the same operational range. Wanted to see the twin engine fighters. Let's see what these guys, much larger, well, a bit larger operational range. Oh no, I want to look here. Okay, I think it's that group. Or was it? No. So let's grab this and the Shokaku group R and add in another anti-aircraft cruiser. Shoot down all of them enemy airplanes. The Zuikaku group. Oh, Nagomo needs a promotion. Oh, well, now it's which one? Okay, they have one. Kaga. They're both 2. Kudotai, I guess we'll get it. I'm not sure which one I intended it to be. And I think I sent the other one over here. They've got it. Taiho's got one, and they do. So we'll give it to the Taiho because it's a little more valuable of a group, I think. Since they both have one, just make sure we get good anti-aircraft. We'll see how all this naval battle works out. Because as I've made in one post, they were suggesting, and I don't know, and it would be an interesting experiment, but I'm not going to do it right now, is to tell tell the Axis minor allies to like defend their capital and whatnot, to try to keep them from eating up too much supplies here on the Eastern Front. And that might work, but I'm as much wanting to see what the AI will do on its own, because I did try to get them to support Italian objective provinces. If you want to look back at my last, I don't know, 10-20 episodes of my Italian series, I was definitely giving Germany, I don't know if I was giving the minor allies, but Germany objective provinces in and around my Italian front, and the AI was ignoring it. but they were within the human player sphere, which we've talked about, is that they seem to not want to help out directly. Okay, yep, we're going to continue that. More building. So this playthrough, for me at least, and I hope for you as well, is as much about seeing how things go as trying to win it. Now, I'm not going to do something, unless it's just a test episode, you know, go back and, you know, make a save and do a test episode. That's, you know, relatively cool doing, you know, something like that. So it isn't, it's as much about seeing how things go as it is about particularly winning. You know, I am trying somewhat realistic carrier task force groups here. Okay, 3 carriers, that's pretty big for most things. Now, that doesn't mean when we go into action there won't be 2 or 3 of these groups sitting in the same sea province, you know, whichever sea province here, so that they may all be sitting here, or they may all be patrolling, or whatever they may be doing. And in doing so, you know, we'll see how that goes. Now, if we see that it's just a complete and total, you know, finds a big doom stack of American fleet, and they'll engage one at a time and all get destroyed. Okay, we'll go back to an earlier save and try, you know, and hopefully not too far back, but go back to an earlier save and make our own doom stack and try again, you know, and see how that goes, to see, is it one, you know, one fleet at a time versus a mega fleet is the reason we're losing, or is it the Americans just have so much higher techs and so much more, and so, you know, we'll experiment out on this. You know, yes, I'm going to try to win. That isn't the thing, but that's not for me the primary focus, because I've played Germany so many times, even before playing it for YouTube, that I sort of know what to expect, and so I'm, you know, not just experimenting there. We're here with this fleet stuff. I am just not used to it. Now, some of you guys I know play a lot more fleet intensive nations. Yes, we're going to continue all of these industrial efficiencies. Now notice Romania has given up its territory here. And it's still, at least for the moment, still looks like it's moving forward. That has normally been when I see Romania start to go home when I'm playing, you know, Germany's a human player. But we will see whether they continue to move forward. Of course, we have the allies here as Finland, or Finland as the allies, or whatever. Still a little messing around here. Now, sometime around now, looks like the Germans have done pretty well. They pushed all but 1 division out there. Sometime around now, we normally see a spamming of conscript divisions here. And normally, when I've been playing, I've been lucky enough to be pushing fast enough, hard enough in that none of these units, when I first engage them, have any real organizational levels. So they're easy to defeat, 1. And 2, they're not able to break out and fill up the front line. So I normally overrun them and kill them efficiently and effectively before they get you know, able to be effectively opposing us, and that is a real concern. But I don't think the AI is moving that fast, because we're in December now, so I presume some winter effects have kicked in. basically it just makes it sort of like most provinces are fortified. There's strategic bombers. Looks like they got hit by some fighters there. Now they're heading home, being chased by fighters. Now normally, oh, looks like they're basing out of here right now. Normally I'm pretty good at getting rid of those big units pretty fast. Oh, the Italians are trying again with a CV. They got a carrier. Going after Malta with a big stack. I don't know if those will. Don't know what the units are. Vichy France. We would give them fuel for money. Okay. Soviet Union cancel agreement. And cancel our agreement. Okay. Wonder if they're having any trouble with anything. Well, we're still tying up a few units for some militia. Some armor that I presume. Yeah, that's there. That's self-propelled anti-aircraft with armor, yeah. Not just a militia. This looks like light armor. So maybe they moved some out west. Those are light armor, reconnaissance, super light unit there, but yeah. Well, not so much. A little bit. Oh, they've got a couple of. We've got an armored division with, or more. So I see an armor, a light armor, and a small light armor unit, and an infantry division. Motorized, which probably goes with some of the light armor sitting up there. Okay, well, all off of a garrison unit that we have here that they're guarding their island with. That's good. Well, they're guarding they're occupying this island. That's nice. May not be doing a lot, but now, of course, another thing it can be doing is the units, some of the units that were here that are maybe going east are just, stuck somewhere out here. They may be pulling some other units that instead of going this way, they're going to replace some other stuff here. So they may be tying up more troops than we're seeing. Yeah, put Sepp Dietrich's unit way in the back here. That's smart. Yeah, that's real smart. That's one of the faster units that Germany has here. So yeah, it's sort of winter, sort of stalematey, sort of. Well, they're attacking there. They're retreating, moving around. They got some heavy armor here. If it has organization, meaning enough supply, and hasn't exhausted its organization attacking the enemy fruitlessly, it'll probably be able to hold. And it does look like they're starting to move some units back. Yeah, to Romania maybe. Don't know particularly where we're seeing in this region, but okay. Okay. Okay, global game balance. So we've gone from no effects to reducing instead of increasing, reducing hard attack and soft attack. Ah, yes, it's the first. So let's deal with these. Okay, annual espionage focus. We'll do naval intelligence now. We're going to be looking at a naval war. Economic boost will be, oh no, ooh, the Musashi. Okay, we'll pause. We're going to do short term because we're not building a major thingy, infrastructure thing. Annual national focus. Okay, build a bigger fleet. Bigger army. Economy. Balance. Balance isn't a bad option. Lots of manpower there. No negatives. Science. Yeah, all good stuff, but we're going to go with fleet. Will give us manpower. We almost have 2,500 manpower. We haven't been building manpower intensive units. Reduces air and land and armor build speed. We're hardly doing any armor, of course, but land and air build. Not so great reductions, but yeah, we'll take that. Examine our shipyards. This is always better for long term. This is if you think it's the last year of the war and whatever you're building, which would normally be like infantry or something, do that. You'd want to boost speed, but so again, ignore the lose shipyard because it would have a -1 if you're actually losing it. Sapporo and Nagasaki are in Japan, and Pyongyang is in what is today North Korea, the capital. But yeah, okay, so we'll build that up. The Musashi, named after the ancient Japanese province, was one of, I thought it was named after the samurai guy, Musashi. Oh, well, maybe. Was one of 2 Yamato-class battleships built for the Imperial Japanese Navy beginning in the late 30s. The Yamato-class ships were the heaviest and most powerful battleships ever constructed. I've disputed that. Displacing 72,800 fully loaded and armed with tons, displacing that many tons fully loaded and armed. Meaning, as you put in more ammunition and everything else, it sinks deeper into the water, so that's its displacement, properly loaded. Armed with 9 18-inch main guns. The reason I've said that they are in no way near the most powerful battleships ever built is because the Iowa class battleships had nuclear missiles. Now, not during World War II, but during the Reagan era when they rearmed them and used them. So if you have nuclear Tomahawk cruise missiles, that outclasses any big guns on a battleship. So yeah, they've since they were out more powerful, armed. May not be as heavy. Don't know that they were. Not even saying that they were as heavy as in displacement, but as in power. Yep, we'll do this. We'll pay the supplies and lose the manpower. We'll take that, and that is, I believe, naval units down Musashi. Okay, so we have the Musashi and a destroyer escort, which we're going to leave right where it is to sort of get worked up, as it were. So we do have to pay for that, of course. There it is. Okay, carrier aircraft hangar has advanced. Very good. And it's grayed out. Flight deck optimization. Yes, again, gamer, you should learn how to speak. Okay, we're not obviously going to do that. We're not America to do that now. And, you know, 43 if we're still playing, yeah, I'll do it, but not now. Let's do anti-submarine warfare. Escort carriers, that sounds cool. We should propose to the USSR an exchange of Richard Sorge for some of our captured spies. He is too important to them to refuse such a proposal. After interrogation, Hatsumi Ozaki finally told us who hired him. Richard Sorge, a German journalist who close to the German ambassador. They arrested him. Okay. Another one. Relations with Germany down by 5. Well, we're already in there. And we're going to it's important to them to refuse such a proposal. Okay. And we're proposing to trade him. There were various relatively high-placed Germans. Well, we'll stick these in with the Musashi for right now. That were idealistically communist. Notice I'm not saying Nazis because obviously they weren't very Nazi, but they had various ranks. Okay, so we want to wait on sending out these guys until they're up. 100% would be best. I'll probably wait for that, but at least get 70-80%. Part of the reason I did this, because I don't know this is going to stand, but just in case somehow these guys get bombed really quickly here, hopefully they'll absorb the damage and won't sink our Musashi. That's obviously we're not even at war at this moment, but I figure this will take more than a month to get them up there. No, I don't think I want to do that. Let's see here. We have lots of money and lots of money coming in. We need, let's see if we can get some energy from the Soviet Union. Oh, it has a deficit of energy. How interesting. Okay, well, not used to looking for nearby energy sources for Japan. Chile, yeah, not very much. Okay, maybe should have taken up. I'm looking for a West Coast Pacific Coast, maybe I should say South America. Yeah, maybe not. I don't know. Should I invest in some more mines for? Because that's what they did do. They, I don't know so much. Well, maybe they were still doing it in January 42. Very well could have been doing. I just don't know. But earlier on in the late 30s, they were doing lots of massive investments in Manchukuo, particularly for coal, but also steel and other things. Really industrializing the north of China, way beyond anything it had ever been before. Well, I guess for winter this is pretty good. It looks like they're still sort of making some progress. You know, normally I haven't attacked yet. You know, normally I'm waiting for the weather to clear up from my attacks against the Soviet Union to start. Okay, twin engine aircraft armament has advanced. Okay, we'll stop that. Got those fighters. Okay, that's all looking good. Now we are in 42, so we don't have any negative effects from reaching. Oh, no, 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 no. So what we want to do is, no, what was it? Here, climb rate, that's it, climb rate focus. We want good fighters to deal with the allies, of whatever flavor of allies we're talking about. British, Americans, others. How is our production of these guys? Oh, it's actually been moved to February 12th. So practicals have gone down, maybe. They're tied to the same of these guys, so maybe these, well, they're January, so, well, that's pushing us back. Now, I did say December through February. I want these guys to be ready to go for some airborne invasion capabilities. I'm not just sure where I'm going to be dropping them or whatever, but I just want to be able to drop them. Whether I do so or not, I'm not guaranteeing that. And I don't really think we're going to see a massive change in the US capabilities in that short a time that would, shall we say, change the outcome of any battles of any significance. Okay, I decided I want to move him here. Let's transport him here. See how that looks. Because what we're looking to do is trying to, right now we're doing this to reduce the supply needs, particularly on this island for these troops here, which we don't have enough supply even with this coming in. Tibet is mobilizing. What did Tibet? No, okay. Oh, we should be influencing. Let's. We have plenty of that. So, influence nation. I'd rather have them friendly to us. Where is Tibet? And we should also be influencing Afghanistan. I think they were being influenced by somebody else before, but obviously not right at the moment. Oh, national recruiting policy. Oh, we're going to wait for the... Well, maybe we're under the negative effects, are we? No, we haven't noticed. Oh, here we are. Waiting for that. This has happened to us, so a big hit. But, again, I've had that not disappear when I hadn't... well, whatever. Balanced approach. I wait to get to negative effects before I try to remove the negative effects. Now we've lost these negative effects, so we're back to good. So I have them for a day or two, that's fine. The main thing is I don't want Tibet or Afghanistan to go to the Allies or the Soviets, and I would like to have them, both of them, in the Axis. Let's look at Saudi Arabia. I'll shift leadership over if nobody's doing this now. Okay, influence nation, yes, and let's go with Iraq. Turkey, I think, is just is programmed to always move itself to keep out of anything. So it really isn't worth trying to influence it. But if we can get Iraq, if we can get Saudi Arabia, that'd be good. If we can get Afghanistan, that'd be good. Tibet would be fine in the Axis. But at least I really don't want them to be in either other camp. I don't know, because of the lack of the only effective border that Tibet has is with us. You know, that this is all blocks. I don't know that having them in our camp, other than the, well, no, we can't build an allied territory. So we can't have building radar or something out here. But yeah. Afghanistan might get the Soviets and or the British to garrison its borders if it comes into the Axis. So that would be nice even if we keep them at peace. So if they get in, I wonder if Germany would call them in. They would probably say yes. Okay, still, yes, still within range here. What I'm hoping, though I don't think it will be the case, we probably won't be in range when they, come up here, but that was sort of my plot, was to get them as close as possible to some of these other islands. Okay, commando training. Okay, I think we're going to stop that for now. Twin engine airframe. That's grayed out. And 4-engine bomber crew layout has advanced. Yeah, we'll stop that. Okay, again, we are in 42, so let's do some 42 technologies that we were just reluctant to do when they weren't efficient. Mass events, yeah, that would be nice. And yes, we're still flying supplies up to Inentawak. I think that's relatively close to the American pronunciation of it. And ground crew training for our naval air units. Up here, okay. Yes, agriculture looks like a nice. Even though we have plenty of manpower now, doesn't mean we always will. Oh, and of course we can now. Medium fuel tank. Okay. Yeah, we're. Didn't take that one off, or I clicked it one too many times. But we're going to switch this one over. Yes, you got it. Flying boats. We'll start with that one. No, thank you. You're just having fun bashing heads with the British here. You did, yes, take out Cyprus, but that hasn't gotten you enough motivation to go after there. And yes, we do know you have invaded Malta, but not successfully. Okay, fighter ground crew training. Well, they've got Narva. I haven't gotten across the river yet, but at least they got Narva. Pilot training, good. Artillery brigades, that would be useful. I was having, shall we say, a debate with Shane, really nice guy online. I should put a link. He's doing a sort of a daily or nearly daily or something sort of report on military activities around the world now on YouTube. Really good guy on military history. He's, I think, Scotland based, but somewhere in Britain, I know for sure. Yeah, like I say, really good guy, just having a debate with him. And my contention was that America won the Second World War. And, you know, says it's sort of contentious, and I sort of pushed on it, and we went back and forth a bit about it. And my point was, and, well, you know, and he threw out, you know, casualties, 20 million Soviets died or some sort of number like that, and, you know, X number of 100,000, I think 500,000 or whatever, Americans died in the war, and you're saying America won it? So no, I'm not talking, and in the earlier stuff I said, no, I didn't say anything about battles. I said production. America produced so much stuff that allowed the rest of the world to be able to keep fighting. And even before America enters the war, they're setting up what becomes the Liberty ship production, because I said, you know, Germany would have won the Battle of North Atlantic. Well, how could you, you know, how do you base it on? Well, Britain was not replacing the levels of shipping that was being lost to the Germans. And, you know, he sort of, well, you know, there wasn't enough U-boats, blah, 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 blah. And he's absolutely right. Everything he's saying is right. But if you take a look at the numbers of the cargo tonnage of transport ships that were being sunk, because the number of ships doesn't matter, because you sink one ship that carries twice as much as a smaller ship, you know, it's how much tonnage is sunk is what matters. And you look at the tonnage being sunk, and you look at the tonnage being produced by the British Empire, not just in Britain, but, you know, Canada, which really steps up later in the war with small escort vessels, but doesn't really do much, and most of the British Empire really doesn't do much cargo transport vessels. If you look at what Britain can replace versus what Germany is sinking, it looks like Germany's eventually going to win. Yes, as time goes on, Britain is getting better anti-submarine technology, but Germany is also getting better submarines. So, you know, maybe the tactics of Britain would outweigh the, in time outweigh the losses. But for a lot of the figures, until America gets into it, Britain is not able to building replacement cargo hulls. They're relying upon America. So even before America gets into the war, when America might, because it depends, you know, is it a world war or is it just a war in Europe kind of thing? Because, you know, again, it's sort of Japan, and that Germany had possessions in the Far East, you know, out in the Pacific Islands and whatever, that sort of turns World War I into a world war and not just another major European war. So that, you know, is it just going to be another major European war? And is America going to stay out of it? You know, as in combat fighting? Then they might have. Roosevelt wants in the war. Absolutely. Many Americans don't want into the war. And it is possible that Roosevelt could push America into the war, but mainly what gets America into the war is the actions of the Axis. You know, finally complete direct attacks. You know, the attack on Pearl Harbor, but earlier on, indirect attacks. You know, hitting some of American escorting destroyers and things like that. That America was sort of actively participating, you know, in its own sphere. So, yeah. So that's my contention is that production is the main deciding factor in who wins and who loses World War II. Not how good the generals are, not how brave or how hard fighting the soldiers are, not who has the best tanks. You know, as Vincent was saying, you know, Germany's going for quality over quantity. Yes, but you need enough quantity because your quality isn't, you know, that of a, you know, war-winning quality. You know, if you were to say, oh well, we can build one Abrams tank for every 30 T-34s, and one Abrams tank can kill 300 T-34s. Yeah, and it probably could, you know, easily before being knocked out, you know, on average or something like that. So, you know, if your quality is oh so good, because yes, there were some T-34 or T-55s or whatever that Saddam Hussein was using. So yeah, if you have some really junky tanks and you got some Abrams and you can just, you know, blow through them, yeah, but their quality wasn't that much better. And so I really think ultimately World War II comes down to a war of production, and the U.S. not just tips the balance, but is the deciding factor. Yes, the British produce a lot, and especially if you expand it out to the empire, which includes places like Australia, which produces a little bit. New Zealand produces almost nothing, and the most I've ever found that they produced for the war effort were Bren gun carriers, you know, the universal carriers, and I'm not even sure they were producing engines in New Zealand. They may have been. I don't know. I'm not sure on it. But you know, you can ship down a bunch of engines, and they can build the rest of the vehicle. You know, cast the wheels and weld the stuff together, which is, you know, a certain amount of effort, but that's about the only war-related industry I've yet to find in New Zealand. And I've looked. Yeah, I'm sure they grew a lot of sheep, I'm sure, or whatever, that went into feeding soldiers. But I'm talking, you know, machines of war of some sort, you know, rifles, artillery, something. So the British Empire most assuredly produced a lot of things. The Soviets produced a lot of things. But if it was just that versus the Germans, you know, and America wasn't going to produce anything even at peace for either side, I don't know. Now, of course, we can see that it's not always a war of production. We see Germany winning the Battle of France with better soldiers and better leadership than the French had. Not better than the British, but the British were, you know, a minor input to the Battle of France. You know, they did well, but they weren't the deciding factor there. And that's sort of my view of this. And so when I've gotten in sort of fights, even though I very much support adding more content for China. China is a major power in World War II, a major in World War II, in the Hearts of Iron for community. No. How many aircraft carriers did China build? That's just how many aircraft did China build? 0. Okay, that's why they are not a major in World War II. They were a major theater of action, sure, meaning there was a lot of stuff going on in China. China was a central element of the war, but it was not a major power. The emphasis on the word power. It was a major country, but it was not a major power. And I know, you know, I don't know where all these Chinese people are coming from, especially since Hearts of Iron is banned in China and they're not allowed onto the internet. Well, they are, but not much of it in the rest of the world. So I don't know if they're coming, all these people are coming out of VPNs or simply Chinese people not in China, you know, in Taiwan, Singapore, or other places around the world. You know, I'm not whether, or these are just non-Chinese that have these views, but you know, so this is what I'm looking at. So yeah, there were, you know, lots of people died in China fighting in the war. I'm not saying they didn't, but they weren't a major power. And yes, you could argue that Japan wasn't able to conquer them. I'd argue that just Japan wasn't able to occupy them. Too big of a situation. So yeah, so I'm, you know, I would argue that yes, the U.S. won, and also there's another aspect which I didn't bring up with him, is the U.S. clearly and ultimately and is the only winner in World War II. No other nation won World War II. All the rest of the other nations either were defeated or survived World War II. Britain did not win in World War II. It survived World War II. Please understand what I'm saying here is not did they contribute to it, were they on the winning side? No, they just basically survived. And then of course, you know, they were bankrupt basically at the end of World War I, and they were super bankrupt at the end of World War II with their cities destroyed, so many civilians lost, so much industry lost, their empire crumbling. You know, they weren't winners when the outcome told. They were survivors. The Soviets, they weren't winners. They were survivors. Obviously, Germany was defeated. Italy was defeated and then also, you know, had a war fought across its territory. Well, so did Germany have a war fought across its territory. France, yes, France was on the winning side, but it was not a winner in World War II. It had its country torn up, okay? You know, Belgium, Netherlands had its country torn up. China was not a winner. It had its country torn up. Japan was shattered, okay? Australia, New Zealand, maybe they might almost be winners. I don't know if they were improved enough during World War II. But when the U.S. and we could, you know, maybe talk even about Canada. I don't know, but and we also have to talk about the lost lives, and particularly men, as a very real thing. And America lose a lot of men, of course, but America is in a booming situation, and it doesn't have what happens in some cases after World War I, you know, massive unemployment and whatnot. No, America is booming through the 50s. It's just, its economy is roaring. It's like, you know, it's not can I find a job, it's which of these jobs do I want to do the best or is going to pay me the most. It's just, you know, America is just booming. And then, yeah, there were definitely people that, you know, as we call it, PTSD or shell-shocked or whatever, you know, that were having trouble adjusting to society, and so they weren't doing well, and so they might not have trouble getting a job or getting a good job or whatever. But America was just booming at the end of World War II. And America had, you know, at least not in the 48 states, because there was only 48 at the time, none of the cities were bombed. None of the cities were shelled. You know, yeah, I'm not talking about a few shells launched from a Japanese submarine or something off the Pacific at some point. I'm talking about, you know, really sort of messed up. None of our cities were messed up. So, you know, America comes out of this a winner. So America won. Now, I'm not saying, like I was saying in the War of Production, which it did win World War II in the War of Production, but it was also coming out as a winner, as a beneficiary of victory, and victory benefit as a nation as a whole for all the trauma that the U.S. goes through is sort of worth the cost. Now, how could you, my whatever, you know, died in the war? Yeah, and it's tragic. And yes, I had family in the war too. None of my family that I know died in the war. I mean, I obviously wouldn't have known them, but don't know of any that died. But, and it's time enough passed, and sure, people died, but it's still, people were going to die in car accidents, and before the war, we were in a terrible depression, and lots of Americans were dying because of that depression for various reasons. You know, America was not in good shape before 1938 and before. Okay, so America, you know, really comes out a winner, and in that sense, it's the only real significant nation. You know, I don't know really, you know, Australia and New Zealand, if they changed much from the war, you know, like they had more industry or more something or other. I don't know if they did. But yeah. And so, yeah, I would say America wins World War II in that sense, and wins, and is, because it becomes enough of a war of attrition. How many bombers can you put up? How many fighter planes you can put up? That kind of thing. America wins that war of production and is the primary capability of it. So yeah. Okay, fighter pilot training. I think we have enough other build cost, metallurgy. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do metallurgy. And so yeah, it's not trying to say that we would give them fuel. Sure, you can have fuel to fight those nasty Germans. That, you know, America, and you know, and he was saying, well, I think we all sort of did it together. Yeah, and we all did it together, and the fighting and dying, that definitely happened. More non-Americans fought and died than Americans did, and in that sense, that's a very different way of looking at it. And so, you know, I'm not trying to disparage any nation for that reason, or saying America's contribution in lives and whatnot was more than anybody else, but it was production that we did. Okay, well, we're going to end this episode here. I want to thank you all for watching. Thanks for liking the videos. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Love to see you around more often, and of course, love hearing from you. Tell me why I'm wrong. Either that America was the only winner out of all of the major participants, or America was the primary reason. Well, not the only reason, but sort of the biggest, the deciding factor. Not the tipping, not just like the you know, the straw that breaks the camel's back factor, but the deciding factor in who wins or loses World War II is in my opinion, is production. Yes, Soviets produced a hell of a lot of T-54s, but if they didn't have a hell of a lot of American trucks being sent in to motorize the Soviet Union as much as they did, their tanks would not have been as useful. It's things like that Americans contribute lots and lots of aircraft to the Soviets and a lot of other stuff. So that really is more than a tipping, is the deciding factor, is American production, is my contention. And I know I'm speaking to a very big international audience here. Maybe not a very big international audience, but an international audience. And many of your countries participated in World War II. I'm just saying many because we may have a Turkish viewer or two or something that didn't, but so many of your countries participated in it as well. And I'm not diminishing either the effects on your countries or the contributions of your countries, but that sort of deciding factor is American production. So, see you next time for more Hearts of Iron.